Hello, 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 hello. Yes, welcome. I'm already having a bit of a issue. It's all good. Hi, how you doing? Welcome to Odd Frequency's first live stream of 2026. Yay! Yeah, it's been a minute since I've been on this thing, so if you're watching, I hope you can hear all right. Had a few technical difficulties to start off with, but we're gonna get through it and make sure things are going well. If you don't know me, my name is Benjamin Wachter. I am Odd Frequency. You can find me at Odd Freak, F-R-E-Q, that's ODDFREQ, on the YouTubes and the Instagrams and all the other social medias that I have been a part of. So thank you very much for coming, for visiting. Let's see, I guess my name's just not showing up. Doesn't really matter. So yes, first live stream of 2026. Boy, this year's been a doozy already. We've had a massive ice storm in Nashville that left me without power for about a week. I've had a major water burst, my main water line between the house and the city. And I've just been really trying to catch up on things. But here we are here. And I'm excited. I think that this is going to be a fun live stream. I am going to have a special guest. I don't know when they will be showing up, but once they arrive, I will be more than happy to introduce them. In the meantime, I have to talk about a bit about what I'm going to be doing tonight. You'll see behind me that I've got this General Electric television. This is an all-tube TV. I know you're saying, like, why TV? I thought you were a synth guy. Yeah, well, sometimes interesting things come to me, and I make the decision to see what I can do. So we're going to try to get this up and running again. It is running, but the picture is a bit wavy. There's some issues there. It might just need some adjustment. However, I did make a mistake because I don't know if you can see. Yeah, I've got my PlayStation 2 back here. I was planning on using PlayStation 2 to test the picture. And yeah, it's been a long time since I've hooked up modern equipment to vintage television. So forgot that I needed an RF modulator. Fortunately, the person who I'm working on this for has one and will be dropping it off later tonight. So in the meantime, I'll be doing some other things. Possibly working on this cathode ray oscillograph. But the big part of tonight is we are celebrating New Year because this is the eve of the Chinese New Year, or the year of the burning horse, I believe, or the Lunar New Year, as some people refer to it. And yeah, since it's taken me so long to get back into this groove of live streaming, I figured, why not have a celebration for the Chinese New Year? So you can see I'm wearing red, got some gold as well. These are traditional colors for celebrations of Chinese New Year. And my special guest and I will talk a lot more about it. But yeah, so celebrating Chinese New Year, we've got some little cuties in place of mandarins. We've got some red envelopes, got some tea. Going to be doing a little bit of a toast. Yeah, so very excited. In the meantime, just to kind of talk about what I've done in preparation for Chinese New Year, is I've really been working hard to organize the shop, to clean up some things, and also to get some old repairs out. One of the things that I'm most proud of that we're about to finish here is this Memory Moog. Memory Moog Plus. So basically, I've got all of the electronics working on it, and everything's sounding really good. But the side cheeks were damaged in water damage. So when this came to me, it was completely dead. And one of the side cheeks, it actually was completely water damaged. You can see. So what I've been doing lately, and it's kind of like one of the last steps of this repair, is I've been building new wood cheeks. This is oak. And yeah, that's been kind of an interesting learning experience, another little project that I've taken on. So not going to be doing that tonight, but just to kind of give you some news as far as where I'm at. I've also been just trying to get some of these older projects that I've had, projects that have been taking their time, and yeah, we're moving forward here at Odd Frequency. Well, it looks like my guest has arrived, so without further ado, I would like to introduce a dear friend of mine, Greg. Greg, let me put you on the big screen, and I'll be little guy for a bit. Actually, we can just do that. Boy, that's perfect.
Works great. Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can. How you doing tonight, buddy?
I'm good. I'm good. I can't complain on the correct new year.
Thank you so much for offering to join me on the live stream. It's nice to have someone to talk to. Oftentimes, I'm just sitting here working on things and talking to myself, which you know can get a little weird, I suppose. But I'm fine with weird. So, Greg, you want to introduce yourself?
Sure. Yeah. Don't want to interrupt you on whatever you're doing. If you need to
Here.
Yeah. Can you hear? Oh, look at this. Yeah. I am a union lover. Yeah. And I do enjoy a bit. So that's a great intro. But yeah, I don't mean to interrupt if you're already getting tinkering, fixing whatever you got on stream tonight. Like, feel free. But yeah, I met Benj in Nashville. What was that, like 4 years ago? 4 something. 4 5 maybe.
Was it 21 or 20?
I think it was like winter of 21 when everyone was like, yeah, it's been a year and this COVID thing is not getting better, like the economy, everything else. So I think it was around then. Right. But yeah, I just got involved in the local DSA in Nashville, and Benj was already doing work on housing justice, and everyone was just trying to figure out how do we make housing not the mess that it is, and eviction central. So
for those that don't know, you want to explain what the local DSA is?
Sure, yeah. The local DSA is the local chapter of Democratic Socialists of America. So that's the group that I think most people, if you know the name, would know it from like the Bernie Sanders campaign in 2016. It's what Bernie Sanders popularized as his like ideology of democratic socialism, and he had a lot of support. Maybe enough to have won that election in 2016 had the Democrats not fought tooth and nail to pull him out. And so it was like a political home when 2020 happened, and you're like, what are we even trying to do here? So the local chapters are working on all kinds of things. Just depends on what city you're in. But in Nashville, they were working on housing, and I wanted to do something about that. So that's where I met Benj, who was already ahead of the game on that.
Oh, I don't know if I was ahead of the game. I mean, I was struggling for sure, but yeah, no, that's great. So just to kind of describe what I'm doing right now, I was telling the audience, which there's not really much of an audience right now, but maybe somebody will show up later, that basically I have made a mistake in prepping for this live stream. This beautiful GE TV that I have behind me was my plan to work on, but I powered it on, because you always power on your gear that you're working on just to make sure that the client's issue is recognized. And I realized that I don't have an RF modulator. So basically an RF modulator is what we used way back in the day when you wanted to hook up your Nintendo to the old school TV through the BNC, and it's basically takes the digital wave form and modifies it or modulates it for a radio frequency signal that can be picked up, and you can turn to channel 2, I think it was channel 3 or channel 4, and get your picture on screen. All that to say, I don't have an RF modulator. I thought I did. So not going to be able to work on this right away. But I was also saying that we are celebrating Chinese New Year today. So Happy New Year, Greg.
Happy New Year.
Happy New Year Eve, I suppose.
Yeah, but in China it might be New Year already. Let's see. What time is it? Time in China. Is it New Year? Yep. Yeah. So over there, we're not happy yet, but they're happy.
All right. Yes. And so we're going to be talking about some Chinese New Year traditions, and what it is. It's one of the biggest celebrations on Earth. I mean, 2 billion people, right, celebrate Chinese New Year.
It's huge. Yeah. I mean, if you're talking mainland, that's 1.4 billion or something, and then there's just the diaspora of people celebrating Chinese New Year around the world, and then there's a lot of people that celebrate all over in Southeast Asia. It's the same calendar, the Chinese calendar, but they call it Lunar New Year in different countries, or they just have their own. Like there's a name of it in Thai or in the Lao language and stuff like that. So it's just a big festival kicking off a new year in the Chinese calendar.
Yeah. So I mean, we'll get back to that in a bit, but yeah. So Greg and I met through housing organizing, and then our friendship kind of grew from there. I'd say pretty well. Very much along the lines of studying history, studying socialism, specifically in other revolutions and how things happened around the world. You know, I'm going to get personal for a bit. I hope you don't mind, Greg, but you know, I am a white Western male. I grew up in the Midwest, or some people argue whether Missouri was the Midwest. But, you know, I always grew up kind of with China as a bad word. And so, you know, part of that was the religion that I was raised in. And part of that was also just kind of the typical American kind of naivety about other cultures. Greg, do you want to talk about how you became interested in China? Or?
Sure, that'd be great. Give you a chance to work on what do you want to describe before I go into that, what you're working on right now, though?
Oh, I'm just basically, I've printed out the schematics for this television, and all I'm doing is making it a larger printout so that I can more easily look at it and deal with it when the time comes.
Gotcha. Cool. Yeah, I mean, let's see. I think I started learning about China about the same time that I was getting into the housing organizing stuff with you. I didn't really know much about it before then. Although I did do Kung Fu in college. That was my first exposure to some sort of Chinese culture, I guess. And I really didn't understand it because I had the same experience of like China was a place in my upbringing to be like pitied or to be sending missionaries. And so I think I just didn't have much interest in China. I think the like closest country I probably had interest in growing up was Japan because of the children's TV shows, the cultural exports. You just didn't grow up knowing a lot about the place. And it really wasn't until I started studying China in the last few years that I started to learn about the connections between, you know, whether it be Dragon Ball Z and how, or just Dragon Ball rather, and how connected that is to a very famous Chinese story called Journey to the West. There's a lot of cultural exports that I loved growing up, but I did not understand were not solely Japanese. Yeah, so getting into it, why did I keep going? Yeah, someone in the chat just said, Happy Chinese New Year. That's not exactly Happy Chinese New Year. I forget what does that mean again? It's wishing you, I'm only on year 1.1 of learning Chinese, and my cat has invaded.
Yay, Atticus!
Yeah.
Good boy.
Yeah. So, but yeah, then when did I start actually learning about the country? It was really yeah, in 2021, caught some old video from like the 70s on YouTube. Some like British documentary that was studying just what China was like in the 70s, which is listeners may know, was a time where like there was just so many reforms happening. There was the Chinese Cultural Revolution. There was like Mao era reforms on housing, landlords, right? Like evicting them. Hence the shirt I'm wearing about evicting the landlords, and it's red, a great color for Chinese New Year. And it's an auspicious color in Chinese culture. Red and yellow are like very like this is great. I guess in the legend uh, of the Chinese New Year, there's a monster named Nian, which is the same word for year, and the villagers shooed Nian out of the village by using the color red. So red is not just from that story, but all the stuff around is a very important color for reason upon reason, and so it's just everywhere. It's in weddings. It's just a very different connotation than in the West. I think red doesn't really get that. There's maybe some royalty, and I don't know. What does red mean to you, Benj?
What does red mean to me?
Yeah, the color. Does it have any significance to you?
Well, as someone that's done a little bit of reading and studying about communism, like I associate it with communism. A lot of times the Communist Party used the color red, as well as very obvious imagery, the stars, which you can see in the Chinese flag as well. But I don't know that I have any personal significance with the color red. I mean, what about you?
I don't think any significance besides, studying socialist history. But I was just curious, like culturally, I feel like red is not a color that is, it's very respected. It's a very respected color in China far before the Communist Revolution. But I just feel like culturally here we don't have that significance with red. Um, it's just not a color that I think of when I was growing up that had a lot of significance. So I was studying, like, sort of watching that documentary from the 70s, really impressed on the things that they were focused on. Like, to think in the 1970s, there was a country where the government was really focusing on minority rights and schooling and getting people with different needs into school and working on like just mass enrollment of like blind and the deaf. It was just like doing all these social programs that I feel like are still sort of under attack in the U.S. and the fact that they were working on it with such levels of poverty and investing so much into these programs so that everyone had a chance. It was just very inspiring. And then I made it out to Southeast Asia before the lockdown ended in China, and you also saw some of that in Vietnam. You just saw like shops where people who are affected by Agent Orange, which is the chemical weapon we used in the Vietnam War, that still affects people to this day in Vietnam with birth defects and stuff. So unable to like walk, talk in some cases, just generally have agency. But they've set up like shops for them to make art. It's pretty incredible to see a sort of a focus from the government on giving people work and making sure it's accessible and giving people a chance at a life versus just like a sort of, I don't know. I think you probably grew up similarly, Benj. Like we have a lot of like just charity style things like, oh, let's just give that to a church or to a nonprofit, and then they'll just dispense money until the problem's quote solved. And I was very inspired watching that documentary and seeing how China like organized people to help folks wherever they were at, like in a time of poverty in the 70s.
Yeah. I'm already getting thrown off a little bit here. So I just really, so absolutely, I grew up where Reagan was very well lauded, and specifically for his opinion that the government's it was not to help folks, that private enterprise and the church were much more suited for that. And it's just kind of funny that as China has developed, they've kind of outpaced our social welfare programs massively.
Yeah.
And and in the meantime have also grown financially, what's the word I'm looking, economically, to become true competition for the United States.
I mean, honestly, they've done what they wished in these red envelopes every year of like get rich, if you can see in the camera there, get rich, good luck. Like they've become wealthy. There's all these. I have a bunch of these that I'll go through later. But just this idea of get rich, I feel like in America, like that implies a sort of like get rich, and sometimes it comes from like just terrible people who are like obsessed with stepping on others to get rich. But that connotation just like really isn't there. There's sort of this like I just want to have a better year than last, right? I want to keep growing in wealth and having a more comfortable life. Which I don't know. But when I hear people, do you not find it a little off-putting in American culture when people are like, what are you doing in your free time? Oh, I'm trying to do this side hustle to get rich. It's almost like, what about enjoyment? What about fun things? What about giving back? I feel like that's not really, it's just not the same connotation in Chinese culture. And I think a lot of that comes out of that history of losing those riches due to the Opium Wars and so many other things from the West mostly. But now they have just gotten rich. I mean, off of hard work and great planning. And now it's really interesting to see my family react to like videos of, their skylines, their cities, their documentaries, and see like how much their brains are shifting on the idea of what China even is. For them, they grew up as like that's one of the countries where like, oh, if you don't eat the rest of your food in your plate, you should feel bad for the Chinese, right? And now it's sort of going the other way. There's a lot more food poverty here than there.
Yeah. I mean, and to be honest, like the only bits about China that we were ever taught were basically through mainstream media, and it was never quite a favorable opinion, and because they have got so much, they've got a lot of what's the word I'm looking for, where you where you suppress. Well, I'm talking about like they have blocked a lot of American culture from their internal society.
Yeah, censorship, right?
Censorship, yeah. And so that also kind of had resulted in, as far as I understand, in us not knowing much about them either.
Yeah, for sure. And there's a video we'll watch today that goes over some of the developments they have in synthesizer tech amidst that firewall, essentially. This is before there was an internet firewall. That didn't happen until the 2000s with Facebook. But was sort of a cultural firewall, right? Between really, I mean, that was a Cold War relic as well. Like you had the Berlin Wall, you had sort of this like just chilling effect of you didn't really want to. The U.S. did not want communist anything, propaganda. They were scared of everything, Red Scare all over the place. And similarly, the East was scared of the West in the sense of like their citizens being like, I want to revolt because you won't give me jeans. So like if you don't, because there's a real problem with people spending the money on a jeans company that's outside your country, and then where does that money go? It just goes into the pockets of your enemy. So it may just be jeans, and that's like hard for us to comprehend in the world we live in right now because everything is basically on the market. But back then, those were very different spheres. So you just didn't know about some things that China would develop, or if they would find something interesting from the West and vice versa. Like there wasn't an open internet communication, and even now with the firewall, it's definitely not perfect. But things are changing. Gen Z is definitely talking to Chinese people on their platforms, and was before when China did own TikTok over here when it was much less suppressed. English Americans were talking to Chinese people, and they still are on Xiaohongshu, the little red note app. So it's a different world, and I think it's pretty interesting to be learning about each other in this era, because the Chinese people now versus like 50 years ago live very different lives. And I'd say the same with Americans. Like, I don't think our lives are anything like the boomers. Like, how many 30-year-olds do you know that are like about to have their second kid and already had a house for 5 years? You know, that's how boomers grew up, and that's just not America anymore.
Yeah.
But while you're working on that, I guess one thing I'd say is, how did I continue from? I'm sort of trying to state my, like, do I have any expertise on the subject? And I'd say I am by no means a Chinese scholar, but I'm just trying to spend most of my time, of my free time, studying it. I'm studying the language right now. I alluded earlier that I started learning about China in 2021, but I started studying the language at the beginning of last year. And in between that time, I also spent a lot of time learning their 20th century history. I've only started on their ancient history like a few months ago, but the 20th century was most interesting to me because of how different it was. Yeah. Oh, and then we have a chatter asking, did you discharge that TV tube, Benj?
No, but I did check it voltage-wise. Thank you for asking.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and so looking into it more, reading more books on it, you really come to understand that there's been a war on China and Asia, especially East Asia, from the U.S.'s perspective for, I don't know, most of our lives, through our parents' lives, through, like, going all the way back to the Roosevelts. There's been a push to open China's markets to the West, because China is huge and it has many people and a lot of talent, a lot of hardworking people. So there's just been, most of the 20th century is this big flop where millions have died because the U.S. just fundamentally misunderstands China. So my reason for learning the language and the culture is I just don't want to see the 21st century that is, I would bet is probably the Chinese century in terms of, you know, being a preeminent power. And I don't want to see that be another catastrophic war of the U.S. trying to dominate. And they just fired all their, like, Chinese language speaking ambassadors and stuff. Like, there's like almost no one in the executive branch and the like relationship in the UN area that like knows how to speak Chinese from the U.S. side. That's a bit of an exaggeration, but at the same time, they really are not down for diplomatic relations. So I'd rather more Americans know about these things to be less okay. I think when people know about another place, they're less likely to want war with it. Like, could you imagine how ticked Americans would be with another war with Japan, or like Germany, or like England? You know, these things would have mass reactions, right? So we gotta humanize the people that they want us to go to war with.
Yeah, we are. We're all made from the same stuff, you know. I'm going to set this aside because I don't have that that RF modulator, and I don't want to get too crazy with it until I can test the picture. So, Greg, I'm going to give you the option of what I work on. So I could work on this cathode ray oscillograph behind me, which is basically like an all-tube oscilloscope. Or I have a Ensoniq ESQ1, which is a synth from the 80s that needs a battery replacement. Or I have got a micro Moog that I've been struggling with, honestly, and it's a problem of getting it in tune exactly. So of those three, what do you think?
What do you think has the highest chance of a, I don't know, success rate?
Me completing it?
Yeah. Even not
the
completing, just
battery.
making good progress. Let's try that then. I feel like it's hard to work on a really hard problem while you're also chatting with somebody. I feel, at least that's how I am at work.
Yeah, it can be. And that's definitely going to be one of those things that's kind of like almost memory. you know, I've replaced so many in the past. So, okay, I'll go grab that here in a second.
Yeah, the chat says Insonic highest chance.
Yeah. And you know how to share that on the screen, right, Greg? You do have co-hosting responsibilities.
Oh, let's see. Yeah, I can share. There we go. Okay, there we go.
Yeah, if you want to put up any comments that come through that
Cool.
ring. Cool.
Well, so we've also got a comment of microblog most interesting. Or the
the micromog is the most interesting. And you know, I'm gonna do the battery, and then you know, if I get that battery taken care of like that, then I'll turn around and grab the micromog, and we can take a listen to it.
Yeah.
So, tell us a little bit about the celebration of the Chinese New Year.
Sure. So, as I said earlier, Chinese have their own calendar. It's not the Gregorian. It's their calendar based on the lunar cycles, but it also takes into account solar stuff. I don't fully understand how it's not a strictly lunar calendar, is all I'm trying to say. But it's been around for a long, long time. And there's been celebrations, just like we have New Year's celebrations for, again, a long time. There's a big cultural connection to it in that it's also the marking for them sort of into, it's also called the Spring Festival, Chunjie. And basically you're just celebrating, hey, winter is finally ceasing, which is kind of nice because when we celebrate New Year's on the Gregorian calendar, you're like, you got pretty much all the winter left to go. So you're coming into spring. There's a lot of excitement on that. And China's a pretty warm place, especially going south. So by the time of this festival, you might actually be getting into some, you know, flower bloomage and, you know, beautiful processions outside. So it's just a very fun time of year. Everything's blooming for a lot of the country, and people are very excited to gather with family. They get a lot of days off. And a lot of families put on a national TV program. The first TVs in China weren't even until like the 1980s, I believe, to most of the public. And you would really get one assigned like to your factory, and you have to share it. So people would watch black and white TVs in the 1980s outside with all their factory workers. So quite a different world in terms of their access to our tech. But still, they would put on a national program that's been going on. I'm not sure when that was introduced, but there's been a culture of watching this program that the government puts on of entertainment that involves everything from dancing to singing competitions to some sports things. It's just kind of like an all around the place show. Now they've even got kung fu robots. They do like martial arts alongside robots doing martial arts and flips in the air. It's pretty wild. It's like the only thing my Chinese coworker wants to talk about but probably tomorrow when I go back to work is probably all he did last day was just watch that with his parents.
Okay. Yeah. So now did I read that correctly that the Chinese New Year was originally based off of the second new moon of the new year?
You would have a better knowledge of that than I. I've not read the details of the history of that calendar and where it starts. I just know about that one legend with the monster named Yen and about shooing it away with the color red. So I kind of yeah. But my knowledge on the day is not as high because I've just not been invited to a Chinese New Year from an authentic like Chinese family. Although it seems like my coworker wants to invite me when I get to New Jersey sometime. So that would be fun. I might make a trip out there in the coming years to go see what the celebration is like. But yeah, it's a lot of time. These red envelopes I was holding up earlier, Chinese families will put money in these and then give these to their relatives. I'm not sure if they give them to their friends, but they'll give them to their relatives with money inside as a fun gift. Again, with that theme of like getting wealthier, it just feels good to be able to go buy and get the things that you've been wanting all year. So it's sort of like a Christmas, I guess, in that way. And there's also just a lot of purchasing of those. Have you ever had a mooncake bench?
A mooncake? No, I have not.
Yeah, so they're they're like the highest calorie density in like the world of food. Like they're just like a bean paste. It's like fermented sometimes. It could be like red bean, it could be sesame, but like the inside has or like lotus root is really popular and just gets ground up and it's like becomes this thick paste. And then it's like this really good like oiled and toasted bread on the outside, and it's really thick. So you just take a bite of this thing, and sometimes there's like a fermented egg inside of it. Um, I don't know. You definitely should go try one if you got a Chinese market. To anyone in the chat, if you got a Chinese market nearby, go buy a mooncake, see if you like it. It's quite a taste. It's like the richest bite of cake I've ever had. It's just so dense. But they give those out. They're like very elaborate. They have beautiful characters on top, and yeah, they buy a really fancy like container that's very pretty in a big red box, and then they bring it to the celebration.
Hey, let me pause you for a second.
Of course.
And I'll get right back to you. Okay, Perry. Still haven't figured out that voice issue yet. I see. I'm assuming that we're talking about the same one. Call me. Like let's discuss it a bit. Did you replace the capacitor? That was the one thing that I thought like you had replaced the chip and that didn't work. But yeah, I'm interested in that, and it's good to know. Feel free to holler at me. All right. So I am replacing this battery right here, which has been replaced in the past. And yeah, it's dead as a doornail. And I don't know if y'all can see it or not. Let me see if I can hold it up to the camera a little bit. It was originally replaced as a top of the board repair. That's why I can see, we've got a lead here that goes to the negative side. And then I can see the previous technician's solder work on that. So instead of taking out the board, what they did was desolder the old battery from the top, then installed the new battery and soldered it again from the top. So what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to remove the key bed, then remove this board, and I'm going to remove that battery and then put in a battery holder with the correct size battery. And so in the future, if the client ever needs to replace a battery again, it's going to be as easy as popping one out and popping one in. So I just wanted to kind of explain my process there.
Do you know how that battery went out?
Batteries just die over time. So these batteries are used basically to hold the voltage onto the memory ICs, so that any user presets or patches or programs that they have created, when they save it, it's saved to those memory chips. And the batteries just die over time. And it's a big reason why I recommend people, if you are busy creating sounds, using the synthesizer, and personalizing it, always back up your data. Back up your data, every 2-3 months, maybe, if you're really working on it. Because once that battery dies, 0 volts, the memories lose all their functionalities. So yeah, I mean, it's just one of those consumable parts.
Yeah, I wonder why didn't they have, like, when they built this thing, why didn't they make it replace it, like pop in, pop out? Do they not have I assume that's just like a plastic bit or something you're putting in? Like they would have had that at the time,
the battery
right?
holder.
Okay.
It all comes down to price. You know how things go.
Mm-hmm. How long do you think that battery lasted?
I mean, I've seen batteries last over 30 years.
Mm.
It's not like there's a huge current consumption. You know, now if another part fails and it causes a quicker drain on that battery, that's a possibility. And that's something that, you know, typically whenever I replace a battery, I just keep my eye on it for a little bit and make sure that it's not getting sucked away. You know, I have seen capacitors short in synthesizers before, that are in parallel to the battery, and once that shorts, then you could replace the battery all day long, and it's just going to keep coming back to the shop because it's going to lose juice. There we go.
Are modern synths like pretty consistent on being able to have like these common components that are consumable, either rechargeable in place or easier to take out?
Modern synths will use a different type of memory. Now that the technology has improved to a point where the memory chips themselves will have an internal battery storage. So it'll be like it'll be just that memory chip, and you don't ever need to replace a battery. And oftentimes too, they'll have a charging circuit, so it'll be a rechargeable. But again, the current drain of that memory IC is so small that, you know, it's just, they can last a long time until they don't. But older synthesizers, yeah, users need to just keep in mind that, you know, their battery could fail. And I mean, again though, like I've had some vintage synths come in that the battery was still working, and they were, you know, a 35-plus-year-old synthesizer.
Yeah, it's interesting because, like, you know, me being into software, I used to think, oh, it's so good when you can make all these things digital and just put a little computer on everything. But now learning that, like, my mom got a new car, and they're like, oh yeah, it has remote start on the key. I'm like, oh, that's nice. And then they're like, yeah, for 3 years. I'm like, what do you mean for 3 years? Well, after that, you have to pay $9.99 a month. I'm like, wait, you have to pay money to do something that essentially costs like pennies, if anything at all, to use. And the reason that they can even do it is because it went from a feature, I believe, that started with like a Bluetooth connection, which is like not the worst, right? It's not the worst protocol. You could remote start your car from some distance, but obviously it's better if you're like in a mall and you're about to leave and you want to be able to remote start it from like thousands of feet away. Sure, that's great. But the problem is then you need to be able to send a request over the internet, and that means there's a server somewhere. It could be your house, it could be your server. You could find your own way to do this, but of course a company's going to host it, which of course means an app or a website. And now they have all the control, right? It's not just like a capacitor on a board, a battery on the board that you can just fix yourself. So I guess I'm saying that story as a like, I now see what you're doing, and I'm like, this is so important that people know how to repair things they own, because otherwise you're just going to pay so much money forever to things that don't need that. Like everything's a subscription model now. Everything's rent.
And honestly, like they're trying to take away the right to repair on a lot of things too. You know, there's actually lobbyists that you know, there's been a fight for the right to repair for over a decade, and yeah, I mean it's a real shame.
Well, and it's also something too that even in the digital world, like I hate that it has to be like this. Okay, you either deal with old tech and the problems that there is. Like I'm not saying that the tech you're working on is not cool. I just mean that sometimes there's things where you're like, well, I don't want to have to do that. That's too inconvenient. Well, there's convenient ways to essentially, like, I don't know, if you wanted to keep the key fob working forever, right? They could just give you like a thing where you like on any computer you have in your house or an old Game Boy or whatever, you just plug it into a wall and then you like download some software like on Windows and you click install and it could just be there. It could just work for you. It's like we could find a way to do all the software stuff where you still have a right to repair, and you still know how to like fix it. And I don't think it's any harder than what you're doing is to know enough to repair. We just have to build the schools and the when I say schools, I mean the schools can be the online courses, videos like this. But we just have to create that stuff so people can do it themselves. But it's like corporations do not want that to be a thing. They just don't want it to be in the market. And it's so hard to hack their systems to turn off that like lock-in effect. Like there's nothing is communicating with that synth you're repairing, you know? There's no like special encrypted key that you have to bypass.
Right,
So,
but
yeah.
it's connected. It's probably connected to a proprietary app, which is another big contention, right?
Yeah.
Is that we have legislation that literally says you cannot reverse engineer an app.
Yeah.
Which is why you can't get ad block on specific apps, right?
Yeah. I mean, so what happens now is knowledgeable software people will still hack it at risk of, you know, some kind of punishment. And then they make a decision, right? When they find the vulnerability, if they could go take that app and basically release a bootlegged version, they decide, is this worth potentially going to jail over whatever other punishment, massive fine, if I release this or take advantage of this? Whether it be a selfish thing to make a lot of money, or just the ability to repair your thing. They have to make that decision, or they have to go to the company and say, "Hey, I know about this thing. Will you pay me off?" Ooh, that's new battery.
Yeah. So the original is a BR2/3, just like Perry is saying there in the comments. And what the technician replaced it with is, I don't know the best way to identify this. Nickel cadmium 3.6. Oh, it's a 60 milliamp hours battery. Huh. I have to check on how many milliamp hours this new one is, but I think 60 is a bit too low for that.
60 milliamp. Can I search something for you?
I'm just going to go to Mauser real quick and check the data sheet. I can throw it up on the screen if you think that that would be interesting.
Sure. I don't know what Mauser is. I'm assuming it's like a database of electronics parts.
Yeah, it's a parts supplier. So like when I go and give me just a second. I entered the wrong password. When I go and I need to order a part, if it's like a capacitor or a board level component, the two biggest distributors that are used are Mauser, Mouser, or DigiKey. So I do a lot of parts ordering through Mauser. You just need to look at, there it is. Can't find the page. And that's a coin cell. That's not right.
That looks it.
Yeah. So this is the part that I ordered. And oh, I guess the 1.2 amp hours. So they'd replaced it with a 60 milliamp hour battery. And so yeah, this has got a continuous drain of 2.5, but the capacity is 1,450. So basically, in short, what I'm saying, oh, I need to share a different screen. So there's the data sheets, and it's showing us the nominal voltage, the nominal capacity, and the continuous drain. So the battery that they replaced it with has a much lower capacity and probably a greater drain. I may look that up here after a bit, but I'm going to get back to work.
Is that a problem in any way that you can think of?
Yeah. So if the battery drains, if the capacity is much lower, then the battery will fail faster.
Mm-hmm.
That's the short of it.
And you said there was another attribute of it that was different as well, not just the capacity, but something else.
The continuous drain,
okay.
or basically how you know what you can expect the battery to just like the what's the word I'm looking for? So the battery is just gonna it is going to drain, but how much is leaving the battery at how long of a time or how quickly?
Is it going to be a faster drain or a slower drain than the one that was?
It'll be a
before?
much slower drain. The one that I'm installing will be a much slower drain.
Would that have any other effect besides the battery
Life.
like being just the battery life? No other effect on the sound or anything else?
No. Since it's just basically memory backup, there's not really going to be an effect on sound.
Gotcha. But if you're putting in this battery replacement piece, is it that big of a deal? Like if this goes in, how hard would it be to just replace it themselves in the future?
Oh, that's what this is for.
Yeah.
The battery holder.
I'm just saying if this isn't the totally right battery, that's all I'm asking. If this could be better.
What I'm installing is the totally right battery.
Oh, okay, gotcha.
Sometimes getting it into the through hole socket can be a little difficult. There we go. And I'm gonna have to use a little bit of heats. So basically what I'm coming up with right now is whenever I remove the solder from the solder hole, this new post is a little bit bigger than that solder hole. And that solder hole may have a little bit of solder still in it, but it doesn't look like it. So basically my battery post kind of just lifted up on me and it's not going into the hole very easily.
Is there a way to clear out the hole?
Yep, I'm heating up my solder sucker right now.
Oh, a solder sucker. I didn't even know that was a thing. That's cool.
Yeah, it's when you call me and I'm working and you hear this in the background. That's what I'm doing. Now, yeah, see. Okay. I may just, so sometimes if a technician uses too high of heat when soldering, it will destroy what's called the through hole coating. And the through hole coating is typically just a basic conductor. So it's like it's like a wire that goes from one side of the board to the other. And if that gets damaged, then there's a possibility that you can put in a new component and solder it from the back and think you're set. And then you'll power it on and you'll test things and it's not working. That's because it's not getting through the board to the other side. So I'm going to probably have to jumper both those leads on the back. That's unfortunate. Anyway, what were we talking about?
It's a good question. Things got interesting when I came to the board.
Yeah. We were talking. We were actually not even talking about Chinese New Year. We were talking about right to repair, and how basically now companies are making it so that you have to pay for your subscription for your car to work.
Yeah. So I guess here I'll it's not exactly New Year, but as a bit of like Chinese approach to these problems in the digital age, they're taking a very different way of doing a lot of these things. Like I don't know how much your viewers know about Chinese land ownership and housing, because that's kind of where we started this conversation, how we met. But I was very interested in finding out how does housing work in China, because if it's another subscription model like rent, I'm like, well, what did they actually overturn or do differently, you know? But it turns out they don't pay rent. Like only maybe 5% of Chinese people pay rent, but in general, there is no rent. There is no property tax, right? If you own a home, and by home I mean there's two kinds. There's rural and there's urban. But say you have like a rural residence, it just means that you don't pay to be there. You pay an amount that's pretty small to get like a 70-year lease. It can be 40, it can be 50. There's like a couple different lease terms, but it's mostly a formality where the like renewal of it while you're still alive is like 1.5% of the value or something really low. And it's mostly a formality to say it's yours. Here's your legal document, and you actually passively get money. Like you don't pay rent, you get money because the land can produce food, right, in a rural area. So if you don't want to work the farm, your village, however they want to do it, whether it be drones and machines or hand-picked farmers and tools, they'll work that land and you get a share, like a communally owned, I don't know, like a what are those called? It's like what Ocean Spray is. Oh, worker co-op. So your hometown, your house, whatever you built on that land, you get a share of it. So if you have mostly fields and a tiny little shack, you get a lot more money because you can grow a lot more food from that share, and you don't have to do anything. You don't have to. You could just try to go get a job in the city. But if you want to help out, then you might be, depending on how you guys vote it in the town council, you might be awarded more money for doing all that work. But it's just a very different idea of like rent and these payments that just keep getting piled on us over here versus over there. You're honestly earning some for just being around and being a citizen. And then it's your question of how do you invest that in yourself, which is just an interesting way of also talking about right to repair. Like you are responsible for your land, right? If you don't want it to be a farmland and you just want it to all be one huge house, you can do that and then you just make less money. That's your choice. So I think that's just a lot more dignity on the like, I get to actually do things on this land. That's just the rural angle. There's a different thing in urban, but I thought it's interesting that an economy right now exists where just because you are a citizen, you have land, and you have the ability to make money from it.
Interesting. Okay. Yeah, because of the previous work, this thing's not exactly working out how I would love it to. So again, I'm just going to jumper the leads from the back side to the points I know where it will make connection. And then I'm going to apply a little bit of hot glue, and then that battery is just going to sit there nice and pretty. Okay, well, simple battery replacement got a little bit more interesting than I was expecting.
How often would you say
P60?
Go ahead. How often would you say these repairs get more interesting than you expect? 50-50?
A lot more frequently than I would like.
Yeah.
Recently I had a Roland Juno 106, which like I've fixed so many of them that I can pretty much tell a client when they come in, not only what's gone wrong, but what will go wrong in the future. And we can make a decision from there on how to repair it. Well, I had one that came in with, I'm sorry, I'm looking up this, this battery. Yeah, the capacity of the battery is 60 to 80 milliamp hours, as opposed to 1,450 milliamp hours. So this battery was never going to last.
Wow. How long did he have the synth?
Oh, he just bought it from Facebook Marketplace. So he hasn't had it for very long. And, was told that all the internal electronics are working well. And then he got it back and it had a low battery alert. So he looked me up, found me on the interwebs.
Well, I'm glad that we've got repair technicians out there to make him not feel like, oh, I just wasted all this money on a purchase.
Yeah. And I did kind of let him know that if I were to remove the board like this and put in a battery holder, that it'd be about an hour job, which is what it's turning into.
In the chat, we've got, here, I can put this on the screen, I guess. Had to flow solder from the top to make good connection. Not pretty, but it worked.
Oh, so you had come across a through-hole connection that was not making contact, huh? I mean, yeah, it's not always, it's obviously not the ideal situation to have to wire leads like this. But, once it's done, it should be done, and we shouldn't have any issues from there on. And this side is going to be much easier. Because it's literally going to be right there. Boom to boom.
So are these synths turning more and more into, like I'm sure they're getting more expensive because every year these go on and they could get damaged or lost or whatever. Are they becoming more and more valuable? Like a lot of the synths that you work with?
It really depends upon the synthesizer. It depends upon the technology of it. So this is actually considered a sampler. Actually, this is a digital synth, digital wave synthesizer. I'm not sure about the value of this. What made me say a sampler was because I used to have an Ensoniq sampler that I literally sampled the sound from a real B3 organ, like a Hammond B3, and because we had one in the studio that I was working at, and I sampled it so that I could take that B3 sound out whenever my band played. And it was an Ensoniq. So like that unit that I purchased to sample the B3 organ, no, the actual opposite happened, right? Sampling got so much cheaper and better quality that it's, instead of gaining any value, I bought that thing for like $100 at Guitar Center back in, let's see, 2005, 2006, something like that. And it was originally like a $4,000 sample unit.
Yeah, I guess I'm asking because I'm wondering, like, when you have to make a sort of ugly repair, So is that, do you think that affects the value of these things?
Most people don't look inside when they buy an instrument.
Yeah, I figured you could get away with
Um,
that, but I just didn't know if it got to like the level of like people are buying them for museums or something.
People are buying a synthesizer for a museum.
Well, I just didn't know if it was getting to the point of like some of them getting rare enough that, like a museum might purchase, or like they want something in a condition where the board looks like new.
Oh my goodness. Okay. Yeah, this on the top board repair kind of screwed up some of the traces here. So sorry, I'm just talking to myself again. All right. I got this cup of tea that you told me to have tonight. Is there something that we're going to do with that?
Yeah, we'll have a toast. Let's see if we're not streaming till midnight, so I'm trying to think of what would be a good time to do a cheers. Maybe when you get this repair done.
Okay.
That could be a good way to go.
So what I'm doing right now is I'm literally using my multimeter to do a continuity check and make sure that I've got continuity. I'll make it beep for us. Okay, so there's the negative side, and then this is going to be the positive side, which I believe is, yeah, right there. Cool. So it's got continuity, and time to add a little bit of hot glue just to make sure this thing doesn't move. There are some synthesizers that would be used for a museum, but oftentimes, like if it's in the museum, is it being played, right? So, maybe if they are showing off the circuitry, they would something like that might be a problem. But honestly, like if it's being used, does it work? It's kind of the biggest thing.
Yeah,
I
I
am
I
interested
hear you.
in. Let me go to the old reverb.com. Greg, you visit the reverb.com?
I'm not a reverbist. No.
Okay. For those who are watching or listening, Greg plays drums.
Yeah, not a lot
Have
of.
you been playing?
A little bit, but not enough. I've been a bit busy with the a lot of other things, mostly the Chinese learning lately.
Okay.
But maybe I need to combine Chinese language and drums. I feel like that could be pretty fun combination. Don't think there's many foreigners playing language playing drums in Chinese. Oh, what is that haunting sound?
Somebody forgot to turn off my air compressor. Greg, do you have a China crash on your set?
Oh, good question. I have like an old Zildjian from the 20s, from like swing era drums that my grandfather played. And then I've got a big old Zildjian ride, but I don't think I have a China Crash. No. So you just pointed out something I need to buy. Maybe when I'm over there, I need to go get some kind of drum equipment. That would be fun. Send it back.
And our battery is reading at... What the heck? Must be on the wrong post. That diode should probably... Well, I thought I had good continuity. This is why I double check. Always double checking. Okay, 3.382 volts. So I'm going to put my multimeter in high resolution so I can see further down. I'm not seeing any drainage right off the bat, so I'll say it's probably done.
Well, that
Okay,
went
and again,
on under an hour, so that's good.
I'm sorry, what'd you say?
Just that it seems like you got it done in under an hour, which is the goal, right?
Mm-hmm. Okay, well, I didn't like the way that battery was sitting in the holder. It's much better now.
Yeah, Benj, do you think your business would be a bit easier to run if you didn't have to pay any property taxes and they gave you money every month in the bag of rice?
Oh, Lord. Trick question. Yeah.
Tricky,
Yeah.
right?
I would, it would probably make things a little bit easier on me.
Yeah, I mean, when we even think about it, though, most Americans aren't even. I'm not going to say most Americans aren't concerned with property taxes, but most Americans spend their whole lives paying the mortgage. So it's not even. It's just bundled in there. So a lot of people don't even notice it to a degree. They just see a big payment. And they're like, "That's my new rent." But I quote own it. And
Right.
if you were to guess, Ben, how many people in China own their house outright, like no mortgage anymore, and they don't pay any property taxes? What percentage of people?
Oh boy, I have no idea what percentage of Chinese folks own their home outright.
What about Americans?
Americans, maybe what, 15? Do you know these numbers?
I know the one for I'm double checking them before I say things on stream. But apparently for
Appreciate.
U.S. homeowners, it's supposedly 40 to 40.3%. But also a lot of that is because I don't know if you know, but like the median age for like buying a home now is like 59 or something. So it's basically just the boomers are still, they have their homes paid off, generally speaking.
Wait a minute. The median age for buying a home now in the United States is 50 what?
Let's see. To hit the record high, it's 39.1 in 2024. Where was 59 that I saw? And what was that for? Let's see. Okay, well, the median age is 39. Median age of the entire U.S. population. Oh, yeah, and in the case of the median age of American home buyers, okay, so not first time, but the median age of American home buyers has risen to an unprecedented 59 years old. So the median age is 39, and most people are buying homes at 59. The median age for the first-time home buyers also hit a record high of 40 years. So that's the number I meant to say when I said 59, but it's 40 years old is median here.
Wow.
Yeah. In the chat, we got a guess of 30%. I'm guessing that was for the US. But let me see for. Yeah, only about 18 to 20% of households in China have a mortgage.
Wow.
So you're talking about 90%-ish home ownership over there, and then of those 90%, about 80% of them don't have a mortgage, which is how you keep from, mass homelessness that we have here. It's a big
That's
factor,
pretty
not the only
great.
one.
Yeah, I'm guessing that they didn't have junk loans like
So they
we
had
did.
there was a time. There was a time that they
Oh,
did.
yeah.
Because not sure if people know, but there's like parts of China that are very capitalist, and those are the cities that Americans tend to visit the most. Hong Kong and like parts of Shanghai, Macau, and there they let certain business practices like those predatory loan collateral and stuff like they were also overexposed in the 2008 crash, and since then they dumped a lot of US dollars, and they also really shored up a huge thing on like housing regulatory. So when they had their big financial housing crisis with this massive builder that was not state owned called Evergrande, it was like the biggest private like home builder in China. Um, Basically, they have been building faulty homes. Their financials were terrible, and they went under. And instead of what we did in 2008 of paying back all the banks, they just told the billionaires that ran it to give them all their money, and then they took all the billionaires' money and gave it back to the like thousands and thousands of Chinese who had bad loans, so they got out of their loans, which is pretty great because then people don't have to lose their savings like they did here.
Oh, bailing out the worker? Come on now.
I know. What are they thinking?
What's that about?
We got a question in the chat. Why is the cartridge built in?
I don't know. Yeah. Well, you still got your program cartridge up here. See. Okay, so it's a sequencer expander cartridge. So it may be an expansion of the Ensoniq ESQ1. Oh, yeah. So, these keyboards, I could see there's a used very good condition for $59.97. There's one with a bunch of cartridges and CV pedals that goes for $1,085. Oh, the Ensoniq. The original MSP in 1986 was $1,395 US. So these are not holding. These are not increasing in value like some of the other synths.
Seems like you're closing this thing up though, and that you're good to
Yeah,
go
I'm
with
getting
it.
pretty close. Getting pretty close.
All right, I'm gonna go heat up some tea then, and I'll bring that down, and then we can have a little toast.
All right. And so here I am once again. So Perry, I can't look it up right now, but the cartridge itself is called a sequencer expander cartridge, model SQ20. I'm wondering if that was an add-on later. SQX20. Increases the amount of sequencing space. Twice as much as the original storage. So it's storage for the sequencing. Put our shield back on. Batteries, good. Got my wires in place. Pop this back in. This back in. Cool. Well, I'm going to take Greg out of the stage here since he's away heating up tea. Putting it all together again. These plastic screws, they're just spinning in there. You know, again, don't know what the deal was with that, but it's another one of those build issues as far as just saving money and at the cost of, you know, as a repair tech comes in and out of this thing, that plastic just gets stripped, you know, especially if they're not using a hand driver. Oh, look, I finally got one tight screw there. One's all I'm gonna apparently get to. Yep, that's a bummer. Okay. And the rest of my screws. Yep, cool. Kind of like what I was saying there. They're running for like $50 on Reverb, I think, right now. Let me see if that's a sold listing that I'm looking at. Yeah, that's a sold listing. It might be difficult to find, but I'm sure that somebody could remake those with new components. Just probably wouldn't be very high demand for it. And I'm kind of breaking one of my own personal rules. And I didn't plug it in to see if the low battery message went away. Okay, well, everything shows up fine. Okay. Yeah, Thanks, Perry. I don't know what the steps are to get there, but I am pulling up the service documents. I think I have the service documents for this one. All right, let's see where the battery check is. Well, there's a memory backup test and a protect test. Need a cassette tape deck with a short MIDI cable, a foot switch, a control. Press the master button. Record button, press the master button. Nope, that's not it. Hold down record. Thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you. All right, welcome back, Greg. You're back in.
I'm back. Can you hear me?
Okay, hold the record, press compare, and battery.
Are we working on the Moog now?
It says the battery is showing 0. Maybe I'm misreading that.
Can you hear me on stream?
Hmm?
Can you hear me on stream?
Yeah, I can.
Okay, cool. I was just asking if we are working on the Moog.
We're not on the Moog yet. What? I'm guessing tests filters. Okay. Then use soft buttons to find the battery value. Okay, so this is unusual. Nope, wrong button. Why does it say BATT 0? Perry, you're saving me here. Thank you. I'm guessing that you're looking at the owner's manual. Perform a factory set. Record, soft button 1, press yes. Oh, you're saving me. Still says battery 0. Wow.
Did you confirm that the factory reset went through?
Yeah, it cycled through the menu. Erase all memory and reinitialize. And it's software version 3.50, so cool. Okay, well, I'm gonna have to come back to it. All right, where were we?
We got another question though of battery and backwards. Did you check that? No.
Nope, the battery was in the correct way. Yeah. I mean, I double checked, but I will make one more pass at looking. It doesn't hurt. Doesn't hurt anything to remove this shield and confirm. Yeah, no, the battery's in the correct way.
Is there like a factory reset where you like, I don't know, do something more intense than what you did?
Not usually. I don't have all of the schematics, but I do have the digital board here. Let's look at the memory. Plus feed battery is coming off of CR, the anode of CR1.
May need to leave it on for a bit to let it refresh.
Shouldn't. Well, yep. Yep, I just checked the schematic and it does not appear to be hitting CR1. Okay, so y'all are gonna watch me do an over the board repair. Or top of board repair. You know, there's a little bit of a hint of solder work at that point that I did make contact with. R43, 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 1K ohm.
Did the low battery message go away?
I never saw it.
Would that be something that comes on immediately when you got it?
According to the client, yeah. Okay. Yeah, there's a solder joint in there that, you know, looks a little questionable. Okay.
Or chat vice, physical inspection on metal models, check CR1 diode and C1. On plastic models, check CR3 and C18.
Yeah, this is plastic model, and I got no continuity. CR3. And this is why you never tighten all the screws until you tested to confirm the repair. Okay. Adventures. Well, your tea's going to get cold.
No, it's just steeping. But I feel like you're so close to just putting it in and seeing if something changes.
What do you mean putting it in?
I mean, like putting in the. You said that the solder joint was looking, I don't know, not right, and that might be the problem.
Yeah, I definitely doubting a few things here. I think that should be connection point. Yeah, right there.
Well, that's always the best part of debugging when you confirm there is in fact a bug.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so apparently the solder hole that I chose to connect to had its own issues. So
How do you fix its issues?
you change where you're soldered. You change where your link is. Well,
It doesn't require like moving the battery casing, right?
no, we're good there. See, now I'm reading continuity. There's 1K. Yeah. Weird. Well, I'm gonna distill jumper this, and that way I know that I know.
So this connects the like dead solder joint. I don't have the vocabulary, but the thing that wasn't working, it's connecting it to a place that does have current.
Yeah. So apparently there was it was not making continuity to the protect diode, and so thanks to Perry's internet sleuthing, I found where I need to check to make sure that that's there. Plus, I knew that solder joint didn't look good. So yeah, now I'm just connecting it directly to the battery lead where I know the memory is going.
How did you visually identify that it didn't look good?
When you've got bad solder, it won't be shiny. It looked brown, looked kind of like it just maybe had flux on there that had dried and corroded. I'll make sure that I'm not connecting to that. Great. And now, so there.
Has one of your repairs ever brought the synth to a worse state than it started?
Have I ever had a synth that I was working on and the work that I did caused more problems?
Yeah, like you get, I don't know, that just happens to me in engineering sometimes where I get in there and either I didn't know how it worked or something I did broke something, you know? I'm just curious how often that happens in your line of work.
I can't speak for other technicians. Over the dozen plus years that I have been doing this, I feel like maybe I've had a handful of things that I worked on where, yeah, I caused a bigger problem. The one that comes to mind right off the bat was a modern synthesizer. It was like a digital workstation made by Korg, which are notoriously difficult to work on, first off. But it was like a color LCD issue. And yeah, I caused some problems on that. That was all surface mount soldering work, right? the thing about modern boards and surface mount soldering work, you know, with synths and keyboards from the 80s, 90s even, you like literally have two sides to the board, right?
Mhm.
Well, with modern instruments and modern circuitry, you can have 5, 6, 7 layers of conductive material on the board. So like if, hang on, there we go. So if you apply too much heat in a certain area on the board or whatever, you could damage one of those traces because it's like layered, right? They have multiple layers of conductive pads. And so, yeah, you can get yourself into trouble with surface mount work, specifically if you don't know what you're doing. But it's very rare. For me, it's been very rare that I've caused more problems than one come in this. Now, there have been repairs where I've called the client and I said, I don't know what 67 means. There have been repairs where I've called the client and I've been like, oh man, we're great, you know, things are looking good, and you know, I just need to do X, Y, and Z. And I would repair a problem, and then I would go back, and once that problem was repaired, it revealed other problems down the line, right? So, you know, I thought, this is the one thing I need to focus on, fix that, and then as soon as you fix that, then now you hear the other problems.
Yeah, that's a familiar troubleshooting and engineering story for sure. But yeah, I was curious. One of the reasons I got into software was that it felt like anything I did, I could always undo it. Like Control Z is a powerful thing. I didn't know if that applies to the physical world.
It doesn't work quite like that. Okay, so yeah, I mean, like I am seeing my battery voltage.
Oh, so that was a call out of 6.7, not 67 bench. You know what the kids are saying?
I don't know what is 6.7.
Oh,
You
there's
know?
like, I can't say I understand it, but it'll sometimes be sent around. My coworkers will send like a video because their kids are getting to the age where they're saying 6.7, and I think kids just say stuff sometimes to just like, I don't know, like the way that my uncle would say like Pokemon instead of Pokemon, like just mispronounce stuff. I feel like they just do it to do it to annoy the parents that we don't get it. But there's like full on songs, like YouTube videos that just get very strange. 6.7. So if anyone in the chat wants to enlighten us, you can, or I can try to do some on stream research on what is 6.7. I feel like such a old man typing that. Oh, okay. And now if you Google that, your screen shakes. So even Google knows better than me. Early 2025. It comes from the song Doot Doot 6.7 by Philadelphia rapper Skrilla. It has no fixed literal meaning. It's described as a joke without a punchline, or a way for young people to signal shared understanding. Some associate with NBA player LaMelo Ball, who is 6'7" tall, or as a reference to 67th Street. So it's a meme. You can Google it, but I have no idea what's going on there.
These kids are so cool.
I mean, they're cooler than me. I don't have any memes I've come up with lately. Have you got a good meme you've come up with? Are we innovating?
No. Do I try?
Busy with work, you know.
Were you drinking tea just now?
No, just water. But I can pour some tea out, and we can have a sip of tea. Did you have some at your desk?
Hey, like, okay, I am definitely seeing the voltage on the actual physical chip. Yeah, so my battery voltage is there. I just went straight to the source of the chip itself to see, like, yeah, 3.13 volts.
But the battery's not powering the rest of the. Is it turning off like as soon as you turn it on?
I mean, there are protection diodes, and it might be taken over by the 5 volt, but the memory should. The memory should. Yeah, no. I mean, I don't have anything powered on right now, and I'm seeing the battery voltage at the memory chip, so it's there. So the problem is really, like, I power it on, I do the hard reset, which is record. Soft button 1. Erase all memory and reinitialize. Yes. Boots. Cool. Now compare, and then the battery still says 0. Indeed. It's very difficult to get
So you connected though. You measured voltage and you connected it to the contact point that you confirmed was getting. What did you call it? Connectivity or?
Right, I was measuring the voltage at the actual memory IC that these batteries are provided. Load a bank of sounds, yeah. So moods, let me listen, make sure that the output is working. I don't think the sustain should be like that. All right, so it's on too cool. I'm going to power this off and then power it back on once we've had our toast. I think that the battery is working. I may have to look into it tomorrow, but I'm going to work on something else after this.
How often do you find that a battery repair gets this challenging?
I mean, this isn't really that challenging. About the most challenging part is that the diagnostic software within the machine is not reading that there is battery. The actual repair itself, I come across bad traces every once in a while. It's not that big of a deal.
I don't know how old this thing is, but would they have like an updated, you said like version 3.5 on there? Is there like an updated version that you could install on it that might know how to pick up a new battery?
And that is more trouble than the repair, right? Like,
I didn't know how hard it was to install a new hardware version on it.
It depends. You know, I think that this might be. I don't think. I imagine that 3.5 is probably near the highest version of ROM that they provide. But all right. The little T.
We got T here. So we can toast with a Chinese expression that just means "May all your wishes come true." Xin xiang shi cheng.
Xin xiang shi cheng.
Xin xiang shi cheng.
Xin xiang shi cheng.
You got it.
Happy New Year.
Xin nian kuai le. That means Happy New Year. Xin nian, New Year, and then kuai le is happy. So we've officially made it with bad battery software.
You know, I'm gonna do a little bit of internet sleuthing myself.
Okay, so here's the ESP1, and we're going to right, turn it back on. Version 3.
YouTube.
For a little bit longer, and at the end of the video I'll let you know whether it's real bad. Make sure you put all your screws in the back. Right, turn it back on. Version 3.
Well, this is kind of boring. Do you want to show us a video?
Sure. I actually have one queued up here that I think people might find interesting, of a crossover of synthesizers. And yeah, we don't have to go through, it's a long video. It's 38 minutes. But I think just a little bit of the history of it might be interesting. Just into the end of the section of Moog visits China. So here I will go ahead in the stream, hit share.
I hate to be that guy. Robert Moog. It is pronounced Moog, like Vogue.
Moog. No,
I mean, a lot of people say Moog, so
do be that guy. This is not my area expertise. So let's see. Choosing what tab to share. Here we go. Okay. Can you see this? Black screen.
okay now.
If I hit play, let me know if it's too loud.
What you're seeing and hearing is one of the very few electric instruments produced in China during the late 1970s. This is the Yamaha YM8501. It's essentially a portable electronic organ with two voices, a lead and a rhythm. It doesn't have any of the functionality of a traditional synthesizer, no filter, no LFOs, but there's quite a few secrets inside this thing. It's the rhythm function of this thing that is so unhinged and practically has a mind of its own. If I can guess, it is the namesake of this instrument, the wild horse.
Just a fun overlap. It is the year of the horse for Chinese New Year, so
Yeah,
coordinate that.
fire horse, right?
What was that? Yeah, yeah. Every Chinese New Year also has another astrological part to it that gives it even more meaning.
So if you're into synthesizers, you must know that some of the best synthesizers were developed in America and Japan during, starting in the late 1960s. But if you're really into synthesizers, you might know that a few other countries produced synthesizers around this time as well. German, Russian, Italian synths, now they're all super rare and highly sought after, and also wildly expensive. Some have a really magical sound, as a result of their all, analog and unique circuitry. But speaking to you from Chengdu, China, I've been starting to wonder, there was a huge industrial boom in China back then. Were they making electronic instruments in China during the 1970s and 80s? There were a few decades of Chinese technology which never left its borders and were really never explored by anyone outside the country. This is a fun story at the cross-section of music and geopolitics. In 1973, a man called Bernie Krause, described then as a scientific ecologist, brought the very first synthesizer China would ever see into the country as a part of a US government-sponsored trip under the Nixon administration to showcase new technologies to the Chinese government. Bernie and his partner, in an effort to showcase what the synthesizer could do, programmed some synthesized tones that sounded like traditional Chinese instruments. If I can guess, it sounded something like this. The Americans explained that this was a technology that could effectively emulate or create any sounds that you could imagine. The craziest part of this story is that apparently the Chinese government officials who were the first to see this synthesizer technology saw it and they loved it. Around that time, there was a clear distinction between Western instruments like violin, piano, everything else, and traditional Chinese instruments, which were at that time receiving a huge return to relevance thanks to, the party. Instruments were all being reinvented and encouraged to be studied en masse. Those Chinese government officials looked at this new instrument and they formally declared on behalf of the Chinese government of the late 70s that the synthesizer does not have any cultural value. Believed that the concept of synthesis wasn't inherently Western, and as a result, it should be accepted by Chinese musicians to use in Chinese arrangements. This is the truest origin of electronic music in China. Now, after all this happened, did China end up building their own synthesizers? In one lone instance, yes, they did. Tianjin Qing was this maverick inventor who, in 1978, developed what he called the Dianzi Qing. Dianzi meaning electric, and Qing meaning
okay, well, a little bit more reading
instrument.
in the service manual, and I found out what's going on.
Oh, inform us.
The battery is good and it's being read properly. So if the battery reads 000 next to it, that means that it's good, which that's weird.
000 reading is weird.
Yeah, I would expect it to say something like 3 or 2.7 or, I would expect it to give me the actual battery voltage and some sort of digital readout. But I'm reading right here. Go to the analog test page while holding record, press compare, repeatedly press the soft buttons below, read. The value next to bat should read 000. If this is the case, it usually indicates the system is confused and you should reinitialize. While holding record, press soft button 1, press the soft button above. Yes. Tune the filters. While holding record, press filter. So there's a step missing there.
Didn't you have a time where it was reading 0, or was that just like not connected yet?
I misread. I need to tune the filter and then check it.
Oh, okay. Order of operations.
Yep. And where is filter? So now it's going through each filter. There are 8 filters, and it's giving me a reading next to them. Okay, so if the message continues to appear or the value next to BAT reads greater than 20, then it gives me a list of things to check. But it says battery 00. Huh, this is weird. Repeatedly press the soft button below. Okay, the value next to BAT should read 000. All right. Yeah, that was a cool sounding synth. But so they were basically saying that there were only like a couple of synth types made in China in the 70s.
Yeah, I guess it was like, I don't even think, I was looking while you were doing this, if I could like, where people even get this, like get their hands on it. I think that's incredibly rare. From what I was reading about, it says, described as having a timbre that can make a rock star cover his ears. The YM8501 is one of the earliest electric organs made in the country. After you said Moog, right? Robert Moog.
Mm-hmm.
Moog synth was introduced to Chinese officials. It lacks some of the traditional functionalities of a synth, for example, no filters, and despite its frankly horrible sound, says this article, the fact that it's one of the earliest mass-produced electronic organs in China cements its place. Yeah, it seems like it's just a very cheap instrument that was mass-produced, but does not seem to have had. There doesn't seem to be a lot of other makers at that time. And what's funny is that mini documentary that I was playing. That's like one of the only things covering Chinese synths, it seems, online.
Yeah, when you had originally asked me about synthesizers in China, I was like, man, I don't know anything about it. I guess that makes sense now, doesn't it? Okay, I've just read another thing regarding the battery message, in which it says that the sequencer expansion card may be draining the battery and that I need to remove it, perform those tests again.
Well, interesting.
Yeah. So, of course, you know, part of it is a matter of reading the service documents. Part of it is just something goofy going on.
While you repair this next step, do you want me to play some modern Chinese synths that have been coming out? I guess they're having a synthesizer revolution over there now, which is interesting because I didn't know anything about that until I started searching around.
Hang on just a moment. I'm not getting the message. I'm not getting a low battery message. So, I mean, like, I think that it's fine, but the language of the service. Okay, so the language of the service manual is a little bit confusing. What's the value say for BAT? 000. If so, reinitialize. I've reinitialized and it always says 000. I'm going to check one of the other things that the manual says to check. If you're experiencing the problem, and that's the 12 volt plus and minus. Huh. Minus 12. 11.884. So the voltages are fine. The service manual says like makes me think that it's like, oh, it's confused. So reinitialize it, tune the filters, come back. Boy, this is not exactly the best content in the world, and I apologize for that.
Well, but it also shows the complexity of even following the manual. Just that it may not actually solve your problem.
Well, sometimes, yeah. Sometimes the manual is confusing.
Or making certain assumptions.
Everything tests fine. When I check it, that's fine. I'm not getting a low battery message. So, and it doesn't appear that the cartridge is draining the battery.
Is the screen operating how it's supposed to? Like when it does that back and forth right now? The black bar. Is the screen on the synth operating correctly? Like, is that its normal state?
Yeah. So what you're seeing is the refresh rate. So the camera has a higher frame rate than
Gotcha.
the screen's refresh rate. So when I'm looking at it, it looks perfectly fine.
Okay, cool.
It's kind of like the question of, do a horse's hooves touch the ground as it's running? Did you know anything about this?
Yeah. Okay. No, I saw that, didn't even think about the frame rate thing. It was like, that seems pretty busted to me. Like like you were constantly in a state of, cycling menu. But that's good. So could you call it fixed?
I'm going to I'm just going to let the client know what I found. And again, it's acting like it's fine as far as like I changed banks, turned it off, let it rest for a while, turn it back on. It's still on that same patch that I turned it off. So I mean, like, it's acting like it's good. If the client wants me to research it further, then I can, but more than likely they'll just want their keyboard back. They can play around with it. But I think that the battery is working fine.
Woo, that's great. Yeah, it seems that flashing forward to today, there's a rapidly growing scene, at least in Chengdu, where that guy is, that was making that documentary of synthesizer just experimentation, like both in music and in creating their own. So they set up a big conference. It got some government involvement, like the city put like marketing into it and was sponsored by it, which is pretty cool. Says, since from multiple brands on the same table as a result of their distributors I was helping, do you recognize any of these names? Noise Tone, Antelope Audio, Soma, Dreadbox, Erica, Polyan, Oxy.
Erica?
Yeah. ERICA.
Oh, I know. Yeah, I know Erica since.
I guess they were there.
Well, cool. So maybe we'll see some Chinese synths, and well, we probably won't, right? But I mean, like, we don't see Chinese electric cars in America.
Yeah, I just don't know if the government cares that much about synthesizers compared to cars, right? Like, how big of an industry is synthesizers versus automobile? So they may not care to tariff that. It may not be on their radar, is all I mean. But they might, they do sweeping things all the time, right? Like where they accidentally tariffed like the Falkland Islands or something to like a crazy tune. So they could. But like even with tariffs, like the solar panels I got installed in my house, I mean, they were $400 a panel like 2 years ago, and now they're already $200 a panel. So it's like, if they can make them cheaper, at some point taxing them doesn't really even do anything,
Right. Oh, you got solar panels on your house now?
Yep, as of August. So.
Well, I would have liked to have solar panels on my house just a little while ago when we lost power.
Yeah, I wish they worked like that. The problem is it's based on, like, I don't have energy independence. I basically produce and then I sell that excess energy that I'm not using right away to the power company, and they put a credit on my account. And then that way, when I'm not producing as much, like during our big snowfall and that same storm, like they were covered up, a third of them for like 2 weeks. I get to just draw from the energy credits. So far it's only lowered my bill. It should make it zero eventually, and then it'll take like 5 to 7 years to pay them off. But yeah, it's just crazy to see how much cheaper they're getting. To get the thing you want, you'd also have to get a solar battery.
Right.
So the good news is those are getting much cheaper as well. I think 2 or 3 years ago, they were around like $16,000 just for the actual battery. Not including all the install labor and specialized, electricians to do that. So it used to cost probably $20K to get a solar battery on your home, but now the battery went down. A year ago it was $8,000, and there's talks about a new one that just came out that's only about $4,000. So it just keeps doubling down, which is crazy. But who knows? Maybe in another year or two, we'll see solar batteries you can actually afford. Maybe $2,000 or something, and then with install, maybe it's only a $5K project to have energy independence, which is way better than the power company rates that just keep going up. So, in the comments on this post about this is an art synthesizers, this big like Chinese get together called Modular Commune. Someone was asking that they hope to see dirt cheap modules on AliExpress. One of the commenters said that to give them a chance if you see some cheap stuff, but that the only sort of people working in this form factor are dedicated synth users and small companies without a budget for international sales. So AliExpress is just an option for the standard online market in China. So no company is mass producing this sort of thing to be bare bottom cost. So we'll see what it holds in the future. And then in your chat, it said here up on the screen that Moog moved production to Taiwan and possibly China when they were sold to In Music.
Taiwan. Oh, I mean, like I know that they moved. That's true. Like Moog was American produced for very many years, and it was kind of like a tribute to Bob and to their workers. But yeah, In Music bought them. I'm not sure about their production being in either one, but I mean, I guess production rates are still lower in China than America, or doesn't mean that Moogs are going to get cheaper.
Yeah, because there's a top comment in the synthesizers subreddit as well right now of, does In Music regret moving Moog production to China with the tariffs? And yeah, it's tough to say because I don't know. I have to look at the balance sheet. You have to look at the cost of labor and all of that. But I think what really stinks is just that we don't seem to try to protect American jobs in a sustainable way. We just throw the tariffs out there like it's just going to be some miracle, and it doesn't really do anything if you can be outcompeted, right? That's how a market works.
Right. I mean, I know that American companies had moved a lot of their production away from China because the cost of producing in China was growing, right?
It is the thing though, like many tech companies particularly have threatened to move out from like China to India, for instance. But they can't actually pull that off. It's turned out to be kind of a lie to like scare investors into like being like, no, it's fine if you just take, because essentially as their worker pay goes up, profits get lower, right? So yeah, the financiers of all this are like believing these lies about, oh, you can just move production, but like they're not thinking about, do they have as many skilled engineers? Do they have the like quality control? Do they have the supply chain? Like if you staff a factory in like central India, and then you want to get that component delivered to the coast to put it on a shipping vessel, how much cost is that in India, versus China? In China, that's been largely automated, the logistics. I mean, there is a plant. You've heard of BYD, Ben?
Say again?
Have you heard of BYD, the Chinese car company?
The electric car company, right?
Yeah. So like their production that they've opened up, I don't know if this is all their production. It could just be a part of it. But there's a spot that's about the size of San Francisco in a desert out in western China. Ooh, that sounds nice. This like factory is dark. Basically, no one works it. It's just robots, and it's the size of San Francisco. And they, from that factory, basically to I don't know if it's Shanghai, Ningbo, Qingdao, whatever, some coastal spot where most of the shipping in the world exports. They have like it's also automated from the factory onto the train line into the docking port. So you can imagine that's a very hard thing to compete with, even if worker salaries are up. There's not as many workers. Like there's not a driver on the semi truck, right? You're not paying for the highways to drive parts. You have a train that connects you right to the port. The dock workers are not nearly as staffed. And all of that you can say is like, oh no, you're taking away jobs. That's true, you are. But the question is, what are they doing by taking away those jobs? Like China's population is declining, and they are shifting into a service sector. Like in their 5-year plan, they're trying to get more people employed and cafes and historical sites, and they're expecting a boon in tourism. So it's so different than here, and it's also so different than like just moving the job to India. Like, yes, the salaries might be lower, but how long will that hold out too? Like, will Indian like, what won't the government / even the I mean, I think there's like a bunch, like millions of Indian people are striking right now, farmers, again. So, I mean, then you have strikes that disrupt supply chains. So, all that to say, who knows? Who knows if the China move is a good one or not for Moog or for really anything. Like, I hate hearing about how like a trombone production shop in like Cleveland, where I'm from, has had to lay everybody off. Like all those jobs are going to China. The owner just basically sold it. And I think that just stinks. They've been making those instruments high quality for decades, and they're in a very cheap cost of living city, like one of the cheapest in the country. But yeah, it's just bottom line stuff. Our government is not acting very well on keeping jobs here.
It's a terrible camera angle for it, but Greg, you remember this? You remember this being in my shop?
Is that Soviet synth?
No. This is the memory Moog. This has been in my shop for almost 3 years now.
Was it in the garage?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and like literally it came in with massive water damage. Like, that's a side cheek, right?
Ooh.
You can see how destroyed that is. So I basically have had to, I've had to fully repair all the electronics. And yes, the electronics are finally done. But now I'm trying my hand at woodworking.
Cool.
And I've got some side cheeks that I've created for it. But yeah, this thing is ridiculously cool. I'm just playing some presets here. That noise on the attack. That's how the preset's supposed to sound. It's so friggin' weird.
That's really cool.
Hey, thank you so much for coming out tonight, Perry. Appreciate you. And thanks for your help too. But yeah, I'm hoping that I can shoot some videos of final testing with it. But that's just been a massive repair. But it's so cool. Anyway,
That is a cool synth.
yeah.
I mean, without Perry,
Well-
we wouldn't have learned what 6/7 was. So it's pretty important.
Yeah, 6/7. Be quite honest, I'm still not sure.
That's the point, though. Like, I think we actually probably know too much about it. Like, me reading that was probably cringe. I think it's a joke without a punchline. You know what it is to anti-joke. We've all been through that stage.
I like bits.
Yeah,
Hey,
me too.
we were. Oh yeah, talk to me about the mandarins that I have on my bench here. Why do I have those on my bench?
Oh, just because they're a fruit of China. I mean,
Okay.
I think like almost all the mandarins around the world are coming from China. I think is still accurate. And they're a great dessert. Curb the sweet tooth. Just peel one of these back, and I don't know. They were like almost gone at the Chinese market I went to today to just get some for snacking on. So yeah, I just love them as a snack. I'm not sure that there's like a big cultural connection in terms of the New Year or anything, but I figured why not get a mandarin orange?
Cool.
So, and they're pretty. It's always nice to have a bright colored fruit. But not much more prepared than that. I just wanted to have something on screen. That was. I don't think we were going to decorate in time your shop with red balloons and banners and Chinese characters.
I'll tell you what I did do though. I did clean my shop quite a bit. One thing I read is like cleaning around your door was especially beneficial for Chinese New Year to allow so that the spirits, when they came in, they weren't blocked by things. I literally had this door has been blocked behind the scenes here. I've had that door blocked for about 3 months. Look at it. It's ready.
Awesome.
Welcome the spirits.
For sure. Yeah, I really need to learn more about the cultural practices in China. I really only studied like the history and the politics of it, but now I'm getting more and more interested in the actual cultural practices, like where they come from, and then it's just so different than our upbringing, especially when it pertains to religion and spirituality.
Yeah, I mean, like, I wanted to ask you what's your Chinese zodiac?
Oh, I'm year of the rooster, G.
Okay.
How about you?
I'm a dog.
Nice.
Yeah, so I've been big into astrology for a couple years now, right?
Mm-hmm.
So the new moon is on the 17th, right? Which is which kind of goes back to like how I believe the Chinese determined when the lunar New Year would begin. We're also having a solar eclipse same day, which is called the Ring of Fire solar eclipse. And I thought that was pretty interesting, tied to the Is it the burning horse, the year of the burning horse? Fire horse, the year of the fire horse.
Fire horse.
I thought that was interesting. And then there's also a lot of planetary transits happening right now. Like Saturn and Neptune are going into Aries. There's a bunch of planetary action in Aquarius, and also like this is one of the first eclipses of eclipse season in Aquarius.
That's cool. Did you know that you being a part of the dog zodiac, that you're not generally motivated by money or power?
That's how you feel. Do you feel like that kind of rings true?
I'd say that you probably, if money was something where like if you had enough where it doesn't cause stress, you probably wouldn't care. I feel like you're down with doing things that don't cost a lot of money. But I think power is something we talk about often of like, no, because of how bad the money is, like the economy, we want power. We want power to the workers. So I would say in that way, but probably if you lived like in China, you might be more of a dog. I could see that being. If you were getting passive income from your farm and you were just repairing shops in the city, I can imagine you being a dog in the zodiac. But let's see what you let's see. I would guess that you are a water dog, brave, self-centered, but loyal.
Wait a minute. So what year is that?
82.
Yeah, you got me.
Brave, self-centered, but loyal.
Self-centered.
I like that they have to insert something a little negative, like just like, yeah, you got to humble yourself. You know, there's always going to be a flaw.
Well, hey, like I'm an Aquarius rising, which Aquarius is like the water bearer, the sign of caring about like the community, the greater good, and all this. But Aquarius is also very well known to be a little bit stoic, a little bit not so emotional showing, and highly individualistic.
Yeah, I don't see that with you too much. I think the this prediction is a little more accurate. Because they also says dogs are considered excellent employees and friends because they are dependable and good listeners. You definitely are those things.
Yeah. So thank you. I appreciate that. I'm just looking at this. So the issue that I'm having with this particular synthesizer, this is the Micro Moog, is that I cannot tune the scale to the correct tone, right? In tuning the scale, sorry, I've got to relook over it. It's been a minute since I've worked on this one because I had tried so many things and I was still unable to get it. Yeah, so I'm supposed to be able to tune to an F5 and or the low F, and the closest I could get was like a G. So the scale tuning is incorrect. And I've replaced so Moog, as opposed to, if you remember, I was talking about, oh man, that's kind of boring just looking at my bench there, isn't it? So Moog, as opposed to the last synthesizer I was working on, their service documents are excellent. So this is the schematic for what I'm working on here. They give actual circuit descriptions. They tell you how the circuit works. They show typically their adjustment procedures are incredible as far as very easy to understand and accurate. But you know, I have replaced the ICs that it says may be at fault. I've replaced the transistors they say may be at fault. The power supply is not drifting. Okay. Faulty R359 temperature or R331 oscillator scale. I wonder if it is the temperature. So with this synth, because of its age, you actually had to have a resistor in a specific area. There it is, R358. No, it says R359. No. I shouldn't be at fault. So essentially everything that I've looked at, nothing's worked to fix this issue. So I'm kind of to the point where I'm going to start replacing film capacitors, I think, which very rarely go bad. That could be causing a problem.
Do you already have a replacement film capacitor on hand?
Yeah, I've got a lot of film capacitors on hand. But before I replace them, I am going to look and see. I'm gonna remove them from the circuit, and I'm going to measure them to see if they measure properly. I don't like just replacing things because I've run out of ideas.
Yeah, I mean, I do that sometimes with code. I just start playing with things that I thought were constant and good. Is there anything else that you could basically tweak to experiment that it's something else than you suspected?
Sorry, can you hear me? Yeah,
Yeah.
my battery just died in my microphone. I was continuing to talk, and it's all good. I mean, what I was saying didn't need to be here anyway. What was the question?
Just that there's because this happens to me too pretty often, where I don't know what the root cause is, but I just start poking around to discover more info. But sometimes it takes a lot of time, so I try to figure out what's the cheapest thing I can do to discover where the real issue lies. Is there anything else you could be messing with essentially that would give you a signal that something else is wrong, besides replacing these parts? Or have you determined this is the cheapest?
I mean, sometimes yes. Sometimes you can use freeze spray or heat on the components and see if that changes things.
Mm-hmm.
And sometimes that can lead you to the correct component, but I've already run that route. Now I just kind of want to go back and play on the memory mode. Were we going to do the red envelope thing?
I do have a couple here. I was just going to explain some characters. I think I said earlier a little bit about their significance. But I mean, just to recap that briefly, it's just that, families will hand these out with money inside to their family members as a kind of just like Christmas here. But here's money. Go spend out what you want, or there's all kinds of expectations too, like, oh well, maybe you should save it. Maybe you should save it for the thing you're building up, the business or whatever thing. But they're all full of wishes of basically get rich. Get rich is on like almost all of these. Get rich or good luck. Super rich. At least these are the English words. The characters on them also indicate like, let's see, this one's just a really classic character. You'll see this one all over Chinese restaurants and anywhere you go that has any Chinese in it. This is the character Fu, and it just means blessings. So good blessings. To explain the character a little bit, whenever you see this one on the side here, this is to indicate like a spirit. So whenever you see that in a Chinese character, it's probably related to spirits. And then the rest of it is like a field, which is kind of nice to see a field. I mean, just Chinese characters are made up of a bunch of very literal things. And then they use combinations of literal things and then symbols that mean an idea, an abstract idea, and they combine them together to make a meaning. So let me see if I have another one that makes a lot of logical sense. Let's see. Yeah, and then sometimes Chinese characters, they take evolution. They've been around for like 4,000 years or whatever. So sometimes things just get accidental coincidence and meanings, but sometimes they can just mean something very logical. Like I really like this character here on the bottom of this envelope. So the left-hand side of it, or sorry, I'm not sure on the screen. So this character here, that actually on its own just means cloudy. But this character next to it is like the walking radical. So meaning if you put this with another character, it'll often mean something to do with like a journey. So if the clouds journey away from you, this overall character means lucky. So like the clouds have moved on, that's lucky. So it's interesting to see the characters and how they evolved, and how they each tell a story too. And yeah, they're just also very pretty. Like when you put them on, I've always loved seeing these when I was growing up, like because you'll see them in Japanese too. I was mentioning earlier that I did not grow up knowing anything about China, but most people do see these characters sometime in their lifetime, and they always look to me very like mysterious and interesting. And now learning more about them, they definitely have a charm of just being able to look at something and get a meaning from a single character. Because that's what we do with English, like with words, with alphabets that are like phonetic-ish, right? That you can read it out and they make sounds. We don't even sound it out anymore, right? Our eyes look at the shape of the word, and then we just like bring it to our brain. So they function exactly the same. But if you never knew any Chinese characters ahead of time, you can't look at this and tell me how it's pronounced. That's the trade-off. So you just have to commit that to memory. There's no sound it out. But also the trade-off is that you can never misspell anything in Chinese. So that's nice. I don't know if spelling was tough for you growing up, but I know some family members and friends have had like dyslexia and stuff. I wonder if that applies the same in a language like Chinese. I kind of doubt that it would, because you can rearrange these up top to bottom to read them. You can go left to right. doesn't matter. I guess you could maybe be mixing up the lines and strokes in them, but they're kind of like pictures, so it doesn't seem like dyslexia affects pictures, but just interesting that different writing systems have very different qualities. Yeah, they've been fun. They've been fun to study, but
So you are learning. You're learning Mandarin, though, right?
yeah, that's the standard Chinese language for, I'd say, of all Chinese speakers, that's probably like 95% speak Mandarin. The only reason we even like really refer to it as Mandarin here is because a huge wave of immigration came from the region. British called it Canton, but it's the Guangzhou province in China. And that area, like every area in China, had these regional dialects, as they call them, like as we call them. But in China, they're just different languages. This is like French versus Italian versus Spanish, right? They're like totally different languages that have commonalities. But the real commonality is the characters, actually. In fact, like Chinese and Japanese scientists will sometimes actually just write things out in these Chinese characters to understand each other, because they'll be pronounced completely differently. Like Japanese is a totally different language, where in Chinese it sounds nothing like it, but they use the same characters to communicate ideas. The idea is just kind of a mesh with the character, and yeah, so Mandarin is just the standardized language that it's originally like a Beijing language, and they've sort of morphed it a bit to include some other common sounds and phrases and whatever from other regional languages. But in general, that's been the language of China since, I don't know, early 20th century, and especially even in Taiwan as well. Like Mandarin is what's spoken there. It's really only Hong Kong and like that area that speaks Cantonese, and then the like diaspora. There was a lot of Cantonese immigration waves all around the world, like to England, to Australia, to the U.S. So to us, when we hear like, "Oh, do you speak Mandarin?" The reason we ask that question is because there's a lot of Chinese people here that might speak Cantonese. It's a language that has a totally different, like it has an extra tone in it.
Sorry.
Which Benj, I bet you would probably have a pretty good tonal languages given all your music background.
I don't know.
I mean, you could test it right now to see how good your ear is. If you can tell the difference, if I say the same sound with the 5 tones of Chinese, you want to test your ears?
Okay, hang on just a second.
Sure.
I mean, I've only got one earbud in, but okay. How are we gonna do this?
It's just you just tell me if you hear a difference between the 5 sounds I'm gonna say. All right. So there's 5 tones. We'll just do it for like ma as the ear of the horse, right? So there's ma, 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 ma. Those are the 5 tones. So you have one tone that's just neutral, ma, real quick. You have a tone that is like very flat and a little high pitch, ma. Then you have a rising tone, ma. And then you have a starts low and gets high at the end, just ma. That's horse. And then the 5th tone is just rising, or sorry, falling, ma. So if you can recognize those with your ear or say them, that's how the language works. You just apply that to the various Chinese sounds.
And what language app are you using?
Oh, to learn this, I actually have a Chinese class I go to once a week. But there's also like Hello Chinese or Super Chinese. Those are pretty good. I wouldn't recommend Duolingo. And then just listening, a lot of listening, because like I was talking to my coworker who's Chinese, and I asked him the other day a very simple question because I'm just trying to get better at simple conversation right now. And I asked him like, if he prefers cats or dogs, and cat in Chinese is mao, but I asked it kind of lazily as Mao, and he was like, do I prefer dogs or hair? Because Mao is hair, like head hair.
Uh-huh.
Sometimes fur, but it's just stuff like that. Or like, if you want to sip on tea, tea is cha, and sit like to drink is he. And I just lazily did it as he, like rising tone, and that threw him off too. And he was like, I want to do what and tea, because he with the rising is and. So it's a language where there's a few sounds, very few compared to English, but those tones make all the difference. So I feel like it's a language that you could excel in because of your music background. I think if you got an ear for tones, it just gets really easy.
Yeah. I mean, I may try to pick it up.
It's a fun one. I think it's something that you could definitely absorb passively a bit. Seems to be the way that languages go well. Like learn just enough to listen to a very like a kid's level program, and then you just listen and listen and listen while you're doing your work, and you will just with the repeated hearing, language mostly develops when you're not thinking, like when you're not actively using it. It's like you expose yourself, kind of like doing some kind of strength training, and then when you rest, your brain rewires basically. Um, there's even a story of a guy who was learning Chinese, English speaker. He was living in China. He had a coma. He woke up from the coma. His brain had been rewired in that time, and the like Chinese and English speaking staff, he just started reaching out in Chinese, and like his main language became Chinese. He barely knew English anymore. So
Wow.
pretty interesting. Yeah. They're still trying to understand how the brain works on that and how he got his wires crossed basically.
That's wild.
It led to a question that I thought was funny of like asking, okay, if you woke up and just all of a sudden you spoke like Finnish or Chinese, but only that, what would you do? Like, would you move? Would you move to the country that speaks that language? Like, what would your partner do? You know, that's just such a crazy overnight change, you know? Um, I don't know. Like, I don't think there's a big Chinese language speaking community in Nashville.
You don't think there's a big Chinese speaking?
Community in
Say that
Nashville,
again?
I don't. Yeah, I just don't think there's many Chinese immigrants to Nashville. There's only, as far as I remember, there's only like one dim sum spot. There was like very few Chinese restaurants. I could be wrong, but I just mean if you woke up bench tomorrow and only knew Chinese, basically, it'd be a hard transition.
Maybe go to San Francisco.
Yeah, that wouldn't be too hard.
I couldn't afford to live there, but
Well, I'm guessing there's
okay.
probably cheaper areas in the Bay. You could find something. Any progress here on the board?
No, not yet. I mean, again, it's been a minute since I've worked on this, so I am kind of back to seeing where I'm at. Yeah, and so like I should be hearing F, but that is an E. And that's going in the wrong direction. 30:46. Oh shit! It's past 9.
Oh, we should get wrapped up then.
Yeah. I just want to see if this does anything. If you don't mind, you got to be somewhere.
No, you're good. Keep going.
Say goodbye. And hello. Still unable to get it into range, but these are the way things go. All right, so I do want to ask, like, I bought these red envelopes, so I'm supposed to just put money in it and send it to folks?
Yeah, whoever, if you got family or friends that you want to give a little money, or you could put, a nice note in there. You're thinking of them.
Yeah.
But that's pretty much what they're for. They're supposed to be that sort of exciting thing, like when you're a kid and it's Christmas Day and you're looking for a red envelope. You see it in your aunt's purse, and you're like, "Oh, is that going to be for me? Am I gonna get one this year?" So it's just that kind of deal. Yeah.
It's not. I was thinking, like, how could I intermingle that sort of tradition into, like, the live stream or just in general?
Yeah, I mean the significance is just the blessings, joy, passing good fortune. So yeah, traditionally elders or married couples give it to unmarried younger people. But I mean typical amounts range from 10 to $30. So it's not like this like huge amount of cash. But it's just definitely just a thing they do in the holidays. And it could be you could give it to somebody, be like, join me at Xiaobao. Let's go.
Right on.
Have some quality FaceTime. So, but yeah, this was very cool to see play out, and Perry helped us out a lot. That was cool to see. He enjoyed it.
Yeah, I mean, as you can see, like, sometimes things don't go right in the repair process, and you got to do a little bit more troubleshooting. I think that honestly that battery is working and that it'll be fine. I think too that, like, I worked a full day and then came on the live stream and probably was not performing my best, but it's all good. Hopefully I'll do it again. Really appreciate you joining and chatting with me and keeping me entertained while I did what I was doing.
I'm sure it gets pretty tiring when you're just opening and reopening, and like you have all these steps you have to do between doing the thing you want to do to fix it. So yeah, no, anytime.
What it is.
I'm sure there's more topics we can dive into and find some more synthesis on synthesizers and other interests. So.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, maybe I'll have you on again. We're not going to start a podcast or anything.
Yeah, that'd be a lot. And also, it's a little hard to podcast and work at the same time. So.
Right. But I've enjoyed your company as always, Greg. I'm gonna miss you at Xiaobao tomorrow.
Just eat a portion like I was there. Get an extra dumpling for me. Tell me how good it was. I will be jealous.
Oh yeah, that's what I was thinking about. Because last night or the other night I was talking to Whitney, and I was like, oh yeah, but you have to pay on top of it. And it's like, no, we ordered extra food on top of what? Yeah,
Yeah, for
that
sure.
was the ticket.
You don't have to, but we really wanted to go all in. But yeah, there was also an idea too for that people wrap dumplings for New Year's, so we could do that the next time. But at the same time, your hands are pretty busy. So I mean, I could wrap dumplings, but unless you bring out another guest that's wrapping dumplings, I'm like, I don't want your hands to be all greasy.
Yeah, I heard that the night of New Year's Eve, the family will make dumplings and or long noodles.
Mm-hmm.
And what I heard was that you don't want to cut if you want to live a long life, you don't cut the noodle.
Correct. That's true. You gotta get the long noodle, then slurp it up.
Absolutely.
So, yeah.
I
Cool. Good
appreciate you,
chat.
Craig. Have a wonderful night.
Yeah, you
Say
too.
again.
Get some rest. I said, yeah, you too. Get some rest. I know you've had a long day, a long stream.
Oh, before that, you said something.
Oh, just to slurp up the long noodle. That's all.
Oh, I thought you may have thrown a Chinese phrase out at me for slurp up the long noodle.
I wish I knew how to say that one. Give me another year. I'll be much better by then. So,
Yeah.
cool.
I love you, man.
All right. See you. Love you too. Good night.
Bye.